Hello, this is Alan G. Davison, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about the individual chapters and stuff. When I first actually started working on the book itself, I really wasn't going to do anything with it. Like I said, it was more of a project between friends, and so I really didn't get too much of a kickstart into it, to be honest, which is why it took 2 years to write. To be honest, I'm working on the second one, and I've gotten about 33 chapters written in less than a year already. So I really am motivated on the second book a lot more than I was on my first one. The individual chapters, though, I think it was chapter 16. I think it was like one of my longest chapters, about 16 pages into it. That one was a really fun chapter to actually write. I'm not going to go into the whole details because it's a lot of spoilers and stuff, but that one was a lot of fun. It was the first time when I had all of the heroes and all of the villains in one single set place for a change, in just one massive open-all battle. That was where I really started to set up characters. I started to bring in plot points, and I hope I did a couple of decent twists in overall lineup and stuff. But it was one of the more epic and interesting chapters. Another one that surprisingly enough, the last chapter to introduce a new character with Shiva was also a really interesting chapter for me to write as well, simply for the fact that I got to mess with Sylar a little bit, and I really got to really show just how dangerous and powerful some people can actually be in this world, was a lot of fun, is to actually set that sort of stuff up, in the sense that, yeah, these guys are tough and everything, but there's stuff out there that's even more dangerous than the fallen angels. Which is always interesting to do something that's capable of taking on both heroes and villains at the same time. I'm not really 100% certain what I intend to do with Shiva herself, but she's interesting, and I doubt I'm just going to have her fizzle out into the background or anything like that. Let's see here. What was another interesting chapter that... crap. The final chapters were also interesting, as well as the fact that I probably was running off very little sleep. I mean, the last chapters just popped in, like, really quickly. I mean, I think I did, like, six chapters or so within a really, really short span of time. And when I finally got to the end of it, it was, like, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, alright, I'm not really done yet, but, oh my goodness, I'm gonna go to bed now. I got up the next morning, back in the computer, finished off the epilogue with a bit more of a tact. Yeah, that was another thing, was the epilogue was a little bit different. It was, if anybody's actually played Jade Empire or Dragon Age Origins or anything like that, at the very end, they always have these little brief descriptions of what happened to different characters and stuff. That was what the epilogue originally was supposed to be, and I was like, yeah... maybe for a video game, doesn't work for a book. So I ended up going back against it the next morning, and then right after that, like, not even before the day's end, I was like, okay, next book, let's start with that one. Bam! After that, I ended up looking around on the internet for publishing and stuff, as well as through friends and family, but the people I could get a hold of, everyone said, you need to self-publish, because there's not a whole lot of people out there who are looking for actual, to publish in actual books anymore. Almost everything's being done over the internet. I was a little disappointed, though, when that happened, but another story entirely. Self-publishing is a bitch, and it's also a little expensive, so anybody who's actually interested in that, be careful. Know exactly what you're getting yourself into when you actually get into it. Mental recommendation, even if I'm not going to talk about that directly just yet, make sure you get everything together. Like, if you're going to, like, for a cover and stuff like that, make sure you get everything together. It will make everything a lot smoother and a lot easier and a lot faster for you. Anyway, excuse me. Outside of that, though, there weren't any serious chapters. I think there was one chapter I had to go back and re-edit because a friend of mine said it was way too confusing. And considering that my grammatical errors and stuff like that make it a little difficult to read sometimes, that's probably saying something, especially since the guy had made no prior comments about my overall, grammar. This was before the editing itself, which another story for the self-publishing side of the thing. Let's see here. Yeah, that one was an interesting chapter, and when I eventually went back to look at it, I had some issues with it. After I ended up getting self-published, and they started self-publishing, and the company edited it, and they sent it back. I ended up doing some chopping up a lot too in that department as well. It seems as though every single time I look at that book, I feel like I could have done that a little bit better. Could have done that a little bit different. Could have done that. It's complicated as heck. I'm never satisfied with the dang thing, to be honest. But I learned early on from working on some of my fan fictions that if you if you continue to play with something and don't let something be after a specific time, it starts to become counterproductive and it starts to destroy it. A case in point for current stuff is I write fan fiction. I've already admitted to that. So all rights and reserved to those who actually own the property. I did a Final Fantasy VII Naruto crossover. I think it was a little closer to the planet was the title of it. And I do have ideas for the story. I really do, and I would love to finish it. But I started messing with it a little bit, tampering with some of the earlier stuff and some of the earlier chapters because people kept complaining about my grammar and stuff like that, and there was other bits and pieces that I wanted to actually add in, and then things just got convoluted and complicated. Now that I look back at it, it's kind of like a serious mess, and I just don't want to touch it with a freaking 39.5-inch pole. So, yeah, that's why I've sort of decided that I'm never going to go back to that book ever again. I might change the change the cover for like a special edition if I ever become successful enough. Yeah, right. Like that's gonna happen. Or something along those lines of having someone who's got a bit better skills when it comes to being an editor to actually look over it and revamp it. But I'm done with the first book. I'm done. I'm not going to touch it again. I'm not going back against it again. It's good. I am not going to pull a George Lucas and start fixing things, so to speak, because let's face it, you can't satisfy everyone, and you can't ever satisfy yourself with your own work, because you will always be that one individual who knows that there's something wrong, or something off, or something that doesn't technically work. Never fun for an author. I cannot read my own work either, which is another reason in that department. But back to the chapters at hand, though, I really don't have much to say in the department, now that I really think about it. There was only a few chapters that really stuck out. I think it was like after chapter 10 that I really started to buckle down and really start working on it. It was around those chapters that my fan fiction sort of took a side show. They no longer were very important or as focused. Mind you, there is one that I'm still working on with my girlfriend. It's a Harry Potter fanfiction called Magnolia Crescent. All rights reserved to J.K. Rowling. And that one is perhaps one of my most successful ones, mainly because of my girlfriend's editing skills, and which is pretty much a godsend in my opinion. I have another fan fiction that I have actually done a couple of chapters for, and one that predates my current book that I've been working on, but I don't know what's going to happen to either of them. One is a Dexter Powerpuff Girl crossover. I got back into it thanks to, I think it was Snafu or something like that in his comics, revolving around the Powerpuff Girls and all the other old school cartoon characters, as well as some of the newer ones. So I got a little bit into that. I've got it on my computer. I just haven't put it up yet. And another one I ended up working on after recently was my Pokemon. I think it was a Legend of Red or something like that. Mainly because I wanted to give Red his dues. First game I ever played was on a Game Boy and really enjoyed was Pokemon Red for the Game Boy. Game Boy. Almost said Game Boy Color. That was my first Game Boy. Yeah, anyway, that was, those two, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to it. The Harry Potter one is a definitive one. I'm going to eventually going to continue to work on that, simply for the fact that I've just invested so many thoughts and ideas into the story itself. Not to mention, it's one of the only ones that I've actually gotten consistent reviews on. And nothing, about the grammar and stuff. So, yeah, I'm a little sensitive when it comes to grammar, mainly because I failed. I did a piss-poor job in my English classes. So, as somebody actually left a message on my YouTube account, and they asked for, hey, do you want to, tell us what some of your fan fictions were? I would have no issues. I'm probably going to put a link to them in the description, and for my actual page itself, and for my girlfriend's page. We only worked together and collabed on the Harry Potter one, but she's got a couple of her own. Outside of that, though, I really don't know if I'm ever going to actually go back anytime soon, because I've just been spending so much time doing other things. Really going off on a tangent here, I really should... I think that's enough for now, because I really am getting off topic, and I'm no longer talking about what I originally intended to talk about. But now that I think about it, it was kind of a silly idea to go try to think that I'd be able to make any length out of that. Well, it seems as though my audio recording system is finally working again, and I'm going to end this here.